everyone. Welcome to Take 5, where we're taking 5 minutes. These days, we're taking 5 minutes and looking at figures of speech in the scriptures that help us understand the person and the character of God a little clearer. We are calling it metaphors for His Majesty. A metaphor is a figure of speech that takes something that is common and helps you understand something that's more complicated. Our puny brains are very temporal, and to understand an eternal God, we need some help. And the Bible and God Himself has given us help by these metaphors. Now, sometimes the metaphors that we use them so often that we don't even think about the fact that they're metaphors. I was in a Chinese church some years ago, preaching through a translator. And as I was trying to motivate the congregation into action, I told them, get on the ball. The translator just looked at me like, what in the heck does that mean? Oh, I hadn't thought about that. Get on the ball. That's clearly a figure of speech, an American colloquial figure of speech. I'm not even sure where that came from. And so I had to explain my metaphor. Sometimes they're so familiar that we forget them. If you are a churchgoer, probably every month, maybe every week, depending on your church, the worshipers gather together around a table, and you experience the Eucharist or the communion table. The very essence of that worship activity and the very words that take place are metaphor. The bread and the cup are a metaphor for the body and the blood of Christ, and in a sense, a metaphor for His dying on the cross and the forgiveness and eternal life that He has secured through His death on the cross. Now, throughout church history, the meaning of that metaphor has changed, or at least it varies. Churches argue over it all the time. I grew up Roman Catholic, and the Roman Catholic position, when Jesus said, "This is my body broken for you, this is my blood shed for you," the Roman Catholic position is, that's literal. When you take the bread and the cup, it is the literal body and blood of Christ. When the priest prays over it, it's called a transubstantiation. It literally turns into the body and the blood of Christ. So in a sense, it's not a metaphor. It's literally that. You go to the other side, and many Protestants would take a memorial view, and they'd say, no, it's totally metaphor. When Jesus said, "This is my body, this is my blood, do this in remembrance of me," when we do it, nothing spiritual is going on. It's simply remembering the metaphor that Jesus initiated at that Last Supper. Remember, at the Last Supper, think of Da Vinci's painting. Some would say we're just remembering what Jesus said at that Last Supper. Sort of in between memorial and transubstantiation would be a spiritual presence that, something is happening when the body of believers come together and they break the bread and they drink the cup. Something is actually happening, and they would say it is a spiritual presence, that the spiritual presence of Christ is uniquely in our worship here with the body and the blood of Christ. It is a metaphor, but it's a metaphor of the spiritual presence of Christ right here, right now. I don't know where you are on that spectrum. But let me say, first and foremost, since we're talking about metaphors, know this clearly, that the figure of speech, the meaning of the figure of speech is that even as Christ was giving His bread and that wine to His disciples, in not many hours, He would be arrested and He would be crucified. And His literal body and His literal blood was spilled out for the sins of the world. And each time we eat the bread and drink the cup, it is a picture of our own faith in believing that Christ did that for us. And so the bread and the cup clearly become a metaphor for the hope of eternal life that we have through what Christ has done for us by dying on the cross and shedding his blood for us. Maybe the most beautiful metaphor of them all, Christ himself. I'll see you next time as we continue metaphors for his majesty.